Good morning.
Morning.
We hope you're having a good experience here at Nerd Nation. My name is Tomas Ramos, and I'm a communications professor at Tacoma Community College, and it's just right outside Seattle. When I was a student at the University of Texas Pan American, I signed up for public speaking. At the end of the week, I went to see my professor with a drop slip, and I wanted to drop the class. I wasn't afraid of the crowd or being in front of people as much as I was afraid of the way that I sounded. My teacher asked, "Why would you want to drop the class?" And I said, well, listen to me. I have a big accent. And in case you haven't noticed, my vocabulary is not extensive enough. English is my second language. And so he explained to me by the end of the conversation, and this was during his office hours, that I had managed to explain everything to him just properly and without any problems. And he said, everything you said made sense, and I think that you're just fine and you're going to be fine. He went on to explain that people here in the United States actually love people with accents. And it's actually a point of attraction. And it's also charismatic in a way. And so he said, and he went on to explain that when you make those tiny mistakes, because you do have a few mistakes here and there, and I can hear the accent, it only makes the audience kind of want to entice you to get through your presentation and do better, because that's what people do. And so the way that you speak, I don't see a problem, and I don't find any challenges. I think you will be just fine. I never felt more confident in my life after he told me and lectured me on how what I always believed that was my biggest challenge was actually my greatest strength. I also know that people should learn to do that in life, and perhaps you see that in your experience here at our nation, where we go through these experiences where we find out a little bit about who we are and how we react to the people that we come in touch with. Recently, I had a student whose name is Jonathan, and the international office from our college came to my class, and they wanted to recruit a student to be a mentor for international students. We have a ton of students that come from Japan. And so the requirements were that you preferably that you speak a second language, that you have traveled before, because they wanted to provide this international students the best possible experience. So at the end of class, Jonathan stayed over, and he comes and tells me that he wishes he could have that job, and it would be ideal because it was part-time, and it's actually a paid job, and it just sounded wonderful. And so he's saying, unfortunately, I don't speak a second language, and unfortunately, I haven't traveled very much. So I would love to apply, but I don't see how I would ever be hired. And I said, no, I think you're wrong. I think you should go for the job. Think about it. If you were a student studying in Japan, would you want to have an American student showing you around? Would you want to be roommates with somebody who speaks English? Or would you want to live the experience the way that you went to that country for? And so these students are looking for the American experience and the American way of life, which, by the way, is wonderful, and we have so much to offer. So he went to the interview, and guess what? They hired him because they asked him, so you don't speak another language, and you haven't traveled before, and so why should we hire you? And he went on to explain, these students are looking for an American experience, and who better to give you that experience than someone who was born here, someone whose primary language is English, someone who knows the culture more than anyone else that could potentially come from another place. So how many times have we felt that we are short in some way to reach our goals or to be at our capacity because we don't know how to tap those skills, those resources that we all have, and it's just a matter of digging deep to bring them up. And I'd like to give you one more example before we go through this amazing pictures that we prepared for you today. I also recently heard a student, and Teresa also heard a student who talked about the first day of class and how it was a bad experience because the teacher, when introducing that instructor to the class, said, you know what, I don't care if you're here, and I don't care when you come. If you want to pass the class, it's up to you, and you're in charge of your own work and your own materials, and so I don't care. So how will that make you feel as a student? Well, if you don't care, why would I care, right? And so as a professor, as a teacher at my college, I know that the first day is essential, and I always try to start on the, like people say, on the right foot and with the best experience possible for both the students and myself. Because on the first day, we set up the expectations, right? We have all heard about how when you meet someone for the first time, first impressions are essential. So I know, for example, on day one, what I do is, number one, I get to know my students at a personal level. How do I do that? We do a brain teaser. So we go around calling each other's names, and then the next person has to repeat the first person, and then just first names. And then the next person has to say the first name, the second name, and the other name, and the other name, and then your name. And what the students don't realize is I have to go last. So it's kind of like it's a huge challenge to remember 30 students on the spot. But what they don't realize is that I have gone over it 30 times. And guess what? I'm actually able to get through it because I've heard it 30 times. But then beyond that, I do an exercise that is called my expectations versus your expectations. What do you believe is a model professor? And students give me what their expectations are. Someone who shows up on time, someone who knows the material, someone who is compassionate, always comes in. And so then I ask them, what do I believe is a model teacher? Or, I'm sorry, what do you believe that I believe is a model student? And we go through the expectations and I write them up on the board. So then we come up with this made-up contract to where no one has to write anything, just visually and in your mind, you get to see what that person is what your expectations are of that person. I can see what my expectations, and you can see what the expectations are. And then we're set for the quarter. When you leave that day, then I didn't scare you after that, and you will be looking forward to come to my class. And, granted that there are some challenges to all the classes that you take, any of them, still, why would you want to present yourself on day one as I don't care? So we all have these traits, skills, and qualifications, and we just need to learn how to tap into them to create your best brand for what you have. Jeff Bezos, who is CEO and founder of Amazon, once said that your personal brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. Peggy Stevens is an expert on branding and marketing. And she says, or rather she asks, what do people experience when they experience you? So when you meet people for the first time, when you walk away, how do you feel about that person and their first impression, and how you what you walk away with an impression of that person? And of course, there is always Dr. Seuss. You know that just in the event, and I don't think that it matters so much, if we were to have all the international students in the room, or if you've ever felt this way, the way that I once felt, you're always trying to fit in because you're trying to blend. Why would you ever want to do that? Use your strengths, use your skills, use your qualifications, find what those are, and enhance them so that you can be different and unique, because that's what life is all about. Standing out, not blending in. To work on your personal brand, one thing that you want to work on is, what is your mantra? And what could that possibly be? This has to do with the essence of who you are, your philosophy, and anything that you believe that you're about. And that is actually different from your slogan.